One corner. Today I'm going to make pesto with fresh basil that a friend gave me, and garlic, and my own fresh pecans. Before I get started, I want to send out a thank you to two very sweet ladies who have kind of taken me under their wing to help me learn how to do this YouTube thing. They're making it a lot more fun for me, and I really appreciate their encouragement. One of them is Debbie M, and that's Debbie space M as in Mary with a period after it. She has a great channel. She does videos occasionally, but she also has a really good playlist. And one of the things that she likes to spend her time on is encouraging other YouTubers. The other lady goes by the name of Mouse Toes, and she has puts up a video almost every day. Really great stuff, a whole lot like mine, and but with her own special spin on it. So I just want both Debbie M and Mouse Toes to know I really appreciate them, and I hope you'll go visit them. All right, now I'm gonna go and get. All right, I'm back. One of our favorite things is pesto, and it's so easy to make. I'm going to make up a bunch. It has too much oil in it. You really can't can it. So what I do is when I have the opportunity to have fresh basil, make it up and put it in the freezer. I've got these little bitty jars that are pretty much perfect for something like that, where you just need a small amount. This tiny little jar will hold enough pesto for 2 meals. Boy, you just toss some fresh pasta in that and have some bread, and you're good to go. What am I missing here? You know what I'm missing? I'm missing Parmesan cheese. That's not the open one. Let me get one that's already opened. There we go. All right, there we go. You don't want to end up with too many open things. All right, I'm going to chop most of this really fine, and then some of it I will work with my mortar and pestle. I tried doing it in the food processor in the blender before, and it really completely loses its character. It becomes like mush, and it doesn't taste as good when you do that. So, a friend of mine brought me a bunch of fresh basil. Everybody's coming to the end of the garden and trying to get things out. And so I'm so excited to have this opportunity. I'll probably give her a jar of this for her to enjoy. And you'll notice my garlic started sprouting. So I stuck it in some water, and lo and behold, it grew greenery. So that'll be fun. I'll include that in this pesto. I have a few more of them over there that are getting really tall, and I'm gonna just see if I can just snip the greens off of them. But these I'll use the full cloves. Take your stems off. Don't want stems in this. And you can make a little, what's that you call it, Paul? A bouquet, where you roll up your herbs?
Roll them up for what?
To cut them, where you kind of roll them up together and then cut them with your knife?
Chiffonade.
Chiffonade. Okay, that's what this is, when you take your herbs and kind of roll them up together and then cut them like that. It's called a chiffonade. Or you could call it an herb roll, whatever works. But the thing is people have been cooking for so long that there is probably an official word for almost everything we do in the kitchen. Anything that's been around that long, it's going to be that way. I'm going to take and mash my chopped. And I'm going to add a little salt, It's the salt. Well, where's my salt? Do you still have my salt? You do. I'm going to add a little salt to while I'm working this mortar and pestle, because that salt will actually help grind this up, that graininess. And this is one of those places where the fact that we use the little bit coarser kosher salt helps a lot. I'm using maybe a half a teaspoon of salt. This is not a regular pesto bowl. It's just an old restaurant china bowl, but it's bigger than most of those little dinky mortars and pestles that we can buy. And so I found this little bit larger pestle at a sale and grabbed it up, and it works great to use with this kind of a bowl. If you had one of those a little bit deeper sides, you could kind of do that business with it. Okay, so that's how my, you can kind of see it's really getting a lot of nice liquid out there. And put it in that bowl. Right, and my garlic. I'm going to use 3 large cloves of garlic. Since these have already sprouted, they're not quite as strong as they would have been before they sprouted, so I'm going to use quite a bit. It's just up to you how much garlic you like. As far as we're concerned, you just almost can't get too much garlic. Cutting it into small pieces so it'll fit in my garlic press. You want a garlic press that has a real strong plunger action to it. See how long that plunger is? That goes all the way to the base of the little well that holds the garlic, and so it really pushes all of that garlic out. You don't waste anything. And what it does is it cuts it into tiny bits. Oh, there we go. Pesto is we made a dish. Paul and his mom made a dip that was a pesto-based dip for our wedding that was so good, and people asked me for the recipe for that for ages, and we could never find the recipe again. This last year, I found what I think is something very close to it, and I'll make that one of these days. It's very tasty. And you do it as a mold. Okay, here's that. This garlic off the hand. Garlic is so healthy for you. It is a natural antibiotic. In fact, before antibiotics were invented, during World War I and earlier, it was used as a natural antibiotic to help prevent infections from wounds. It's hard to believe that as little as 100 years ago that we didn't have antibiotics. There wasn't, penicillin and all all of those antibiotics existed. The molds and the things that they came from existed, but we didn't know how to use them. Mankind didn't. So those were a modern miracle that it wasn't available widely until World War II, until the 1940s, and it made all the difference in helping people survive so many things. That's probably, I would expect that between immunization and antibiotics, those are probably the single most important things that have increased the life expectancy, especially of our children. People's children used to just, they just lost so many children. The one reason they had so many children is because so many died before they were grown, and it was from injuries that got infected, and there was nothing to treat them with, or accidents that were beyond the surgical capacity at the time, or contagious illness. Contagious disease is so dangerous to little ones, and we had eradicated those. But you know, when I was in elementary school, there wasn't a whooping cough vaccine then, and especially in my early years, every year we'd have one or two of our friends that would be out of school for months because they had whooping cough. So they'd have to be out until they got better. And we've all known, in fact, there are still people living today who were paralyzed by polio. And polio was that and smallpox. The vaccinations really helped to eradicate those diseases. Things that are not fatal, you know, there's a lot of diseases that are annoyances to have, but they're not fatal. But there are some that have a huge fatality rate. So, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get off onto that. Here's okay, I'm using about a half cup of pecans, and I'm gonna chop these super fine. The traditional recipe uses pine nuts, but we have pecans, and they are nice and sweet like pine nuts, and they are a wonderful substitute. I read recently that pecans are actually just super healthy for helping you reduce cholesterol. So there's a lot of big benefits for them. You might want to research that. They're also good. I think it's blood pressure that I heard that pecans, eating a few of them every day is good for. So you might want to do a little research on that if those things are of interest to you. I'm not an expert, but you know, we want to do what we can and use the things that are local to us, and these come out of my yard. So that's about as local as you can get. Pecans commercially have been very expensive in recent years because the people in China have developed a really strong taste for them. They're a really good nut, and so China is the largest purchaser of American pecan exports. The other thing about them is that the trees might grow there, but pecan trees don't reach their maximum productivity until they're 30 or 40 years old. You know, by the time a tree is 100 years old, it's super productive by then, and it's really going to be loaded down with nuts every year. But while it's small, that first 10 years, it'll have a few nuts, but it's not going to really give you a crop until it's an old tree. These are native pecans, so they're very small, and in fact, they're so small that our commercial crackers locally are set too big for them and won't crack them. So have to make some alternative arrangements to get them all cracked, and make sure I've got all my shells out there. I shelled them out myself and obviously did not get all my shells out. I shell these and put them in vacuum bags with our food saver, and stick them in the freezer, and they'll last as long as we need them to. So I don't have to go buying pecans. slicing these up. You could use if you've got those little choppers, or you could cut these up in the food processor. You can do the food processor for parts of this, just not for it all at once, because it just kind of turns it into this homogeneous mess of stuff if it's all in there together. So you could use it to chop your pecans, or you could use it to chop your basil and even your garlic, and then put them all together in separate bowls. Do them separately and then put them all together in the same bowl. All right. I'm going to add some more basil to this. So let me go do that real quick, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Well, I had a little bit of a camera malfunction, and so I lost the end of it. So I'm redoing my little ending. I added. What I ended up using was about 4 cups of fresh basil, just loosely piled in a cup measure, and so that worked out to about a full cup once it was finely chopped and macerated. I used about a cupful of extra virgin olive oil and about a half a cup of Parmesan cheese. It would have been nice if I'd had some fresh to grate, and I may have some in the freezer, but we keep this on hand. It's just pure Parmesan cheese. There's nothing else in it. Well, a little the little starches and things that they add, but it's not mixed. It's just so I came out with this nice thick pesto. Now I'm going to put this in the freezer. And I was explaining before, your jars still need to be sterile, and so do your lids. But you don't have to have new lids. You can reuse an older lid as long as it's still clean and still not rusty. It's because you're just going to put it in the freezer, and you don't have to have a seal on it. So this is, kind of like dehydrated things. This is one of those things where, it's okay to reuse it as long as you've sterilized it well. So I'm going to pop these in the freezer, and then, when it's time to use it, I'll just pull it out and spoon it out and just kind of let it warm at room temperature. It won't take it long. In fact, I could probably throw it, spoon it frozen onto the hot pasta, and that would probably be sufficient to melt the oil, because it doesn't really get very hard. And there you go. You've got a lovely, wonderful, easy meal. So I hope you'll go by and visit my new friends Debbie M and Mouse Toes, and enjoy their channels. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I hope you'll subscribe.